It'll work. Yep.
Good morning, LinkedIn, YouTube, wherever you might be listening or watching to this. It's time to wake up with AI, and I could use some help waking up today, honestly. So thankful to be here with George and Nico. How you fellas doing today?
Doing good. Doing very good. Got just as per usual. Mine's buzzing. A lot of news going on. Trying to figure out what's the most important.
I'm sipping on a Vita Coco coconut water. Not sponsored, by the way. But call us. I mean, if you want. I'm doing good. I'm staying hydrated. I'm super excited to have whatever conversation happens. I'm still reeling from yesterday's dog translator caller conversation a little bit. But I'm ready. I'm buckled in. I'm ready to go and see what happens today.
Yeah, I feel like the word outperforms is becoming the new game changer. Seeing it in so many of these titles, especially as these models get better. But just some behind the scenes here. I'm starting to feel like the guy at the rodeo that's the one that just opens the gate, and me hitting play is like Nico is just like ready.
The bull's coming out, baby. The bull's coming out.
All right, so let's hear it, Nico. What are you excited about?
And then I feel like the clown that's running around the barrels.
Come on. It's a tough one, guys. It's so tough because even with one day to go in the week, there's still just there's stuff that happened that we don't have enough time to cover. I'll touch on like one really cool highlighty thing is Adobe Max is happening right now. So if you're former photographer, designer, graphic designer, 3D artist, sketch artist, anything to do with art, and if you've ever worked with Adobe, Max conference is happening. Sneak peek just dropped last night. Those videos just dropped, I think, between last night and today. Outside of the video generation stuff, which most of you should have already seen from Max last year, it's really just that they're finally pushing it client side. The coolest stuff that I have seen so far is just an animator and photographer's dream. One of them is the ability to quite literally just merge any subject matter from any image into another image, hit a button, and have all the lighting and shadows and everything all perfectly align. 100%. And I mean, it doesn't matter the condition. Could be somebody that's underexposed and you put them in a different image and it fixes the exposure. Could be overexposed image, fixes it. Could be different time of year, different time of day, different setting, different lighting, does not matter. They did an example where dude had disco lights on his face and it fixed it, made it perfectly normal.
Love it.
So that's coming. They also have another feature. I can't go through all of them, but they have another feature that I know animators are going to love, especially 2D animators, because when you first start out, it is so very difficult to do this. A lot of them have issues with trying to draw everything from different perspectives and different angles. So there's been technology, if you've been following the beat, there's been tech over the last year and a half that I've been looking forward to, which, just been reeling for these sketch to animation stuff. And it's really, really getting there so quickly. What has happened in the last year is a lot of tech that's related to taking things that are in two-dimensional space and rendering them in three-dimensional space from just the two-dimensional image. So that's happened. It's just that it's a thing now. So that's what happens in this engine, is that it's taking your two-dimensional image, you can just select it, and then it takes less than 10 seconds, and then you can just start shifting it around as if it was in 3D, but it retains its 2D look. It's tough to explain. I'll try to show you, maybe show you guys some visuals tomorrow, but it is, if you're an animator, you understand, you draw a character facing something, but you meant it to be facing the other direction. Maybe you drew it backwards or you wanted to change something. Instead of having to redraw it entirely, you're now able to just select it and literally turn it around. And it retains everything.
I'm trying not to get pissed right now. I really am, because like the amount of Blender tutorials that I watched, or like the amount of time I spent with, I think it was Grayscale Gorilla. He did tutorials on like CD Max, or The amount of time I've spent in my life trying to do 3D stuff, and now it's like beep, bop, boop.
Yep, no problem.
Poof, you have a 3D vase, or
But
that
now
makes
you're
me
gonna
actually want to go back to bed, not wake up. Like, because I'm frustrated now because it's getting too easy. Or is it though? Yeah.
I mean, like that's the thing, right? Is it gives you everybody that thinks about it in that sense is like, well, okay, if the time is taken out of doing the thing, it's only a loss if the actual doing of it is what you loved. If the actual like tracing the pencil across the paper, right? For those artists, nothing changes, right? Like maybe your style gets better, or maybe what you do gets better. But what does happen is for other artists who aren't good at that part, but they're great at the storytelling part, they're great at the ideas part, they're great at the colors part, they get to advance forward. They get to put their ideas forward and not be blockaded by a skills aspect of it, right? Maybe you have a great idea for what an architectural design should be, but you don't have the background knowledge of architecture to be able to properly build the blueprint so that it is, possible. But what if you could just hand that sketch over? So that's actually, I'm not saying that in and of itself. I mean, NVIDIA is working on that. If you're not paying attention, they are rapidly working on a way to prototype factories just by taking pictures of the lots.
What's interesting is my brain goes to the rate to create. Right, the rate, the speed in which one can now create. And by the way, no matter what it's been historically, that's the part that I loved, taking nothing to something. And like what you're talking about here is our ability to create, no matter what your historical skill set was, which is beautiful because it frees a lot of people to do more.
Yep. The last part of it was essentially the ability to take a sketch, which I know a lot of marketers, I know a lot of salespeople would love to do this whenever they're doing promos or events. The ability to take a sketch and turn that into just a full-blown Photoshop file with everything all in its own objects, text, broken out so that you can edit it, all that kind of thing. And then being able to take that and do your design, change whatever you need to, and in one click you can change it from that to all the various social formats that you would need. And it's not just like stretched and kind of arranged and mishmashed or something. No, it's really accurately like resizes things, replaces them, because it breaks everything in the image up into separate layered elements. It can just go ahead and do that. And if you wanted to, in one of those panels, maybe it was like, I think the example was like a Halloween thing and there were some bats in there, and it's like, well, if in one of those panels you wanted to change one of the aspects of the bats, there's another tool that you can use now where if you change that element there, it'll add it to all of them all throughout all of the panels. Even the ones that are changed in different directions, right?
So it's like smart content, but for your Adobe products.
Seriously smart content. And this applies not just to like 2D stuff, but also 3D. It didn't matter what the style was. So it could do it with whatever creative style that you were using. If you gave it something that was posterized, it could do it with posterized, right? Just some very, very, very cool.
You're saving like 75% of a B2B like marketer's time, like resizing and redoing when the boss says, "Oh, you missed this part," or we need to add this. Like this team just created this thing, and now it's got to be in all the assets. Like,
well, I'm sitting here thinking back in the day, right? We would do like mock-ups of like 7 pages, and then some Yahoo would be like, "Well, I think the button should be green," and you're like, I gotta go back and change all these buttons green, all the mock-ups. But then you could be like, make this green. Beep, bop, boop. All of a sudden, all the mock-ups have green buttons. I would love that. And again,
that's
I'm
where
getting
we're at.
frustrated because of all the hours I spent changing green buttons for those Yahoos back in the day.
In theory, you're going to be better at beep bop booping than most other people now because you went through that. But I think that's like the next level, right? Is once we know that we can maybe get away with like not handling that stuff out of the gate. Like when I think a lot of the value has been is like, okay, you got to do it in this order, like whichever tool you're using. And if you do that, you don't have to worry about these variables screwing up. Now we have maybe reduce some of that, worry about that less, and say like, because I know if it doesn't come out right, it'll be just an easy like click and drag to like change the direction and, you know, add perspective. For me, that's where the creative mind goes to. Now I can try more things just to see what happens that I wouldn't have tried because it would have created something that if it didn't work, it was a complete redo and I couldn't use it again. Right. So it's super interesting to think about.
Not the skill of today, but it should be a skill in the future. You literally like just try it. We live now in a world of why not just try it? Just try it and see. I've lived that way for a long time of like test again, I call it test everything. Well, let's just try it and see like what's the worst that can happen. Like, but now, especially with what we're talking about today and like Adobe products and iteration and being creative and like old processes being now new processes, like this mindset of try it, just try it, I think is huge moving forward.
Yeah, I wanted to. I'm only gonna dip my toe into it. The Mac stuff was just really amazing, and it was hard to pass on. And I know that we spent a lot of time doing, you know, marketing stuff, processing stuff, strategy stuff. So I didn't want to leave the creatives out, but definitely want to tease that a new lawsuit is on the horizon, and
What?
the subject of it is it's important to most everybody, especially in marketing, especially in writing, especially in content, especially in SEO, especially in web. So tomorrow's show is gonna be a banger. It's
Oh wait, you're not talking about it now?
no.
Oh,
It would be too perplexing to talk about it right now.
oh, that I feel like that's a hint, ladies and gentlemen. I feel like that's a hint.
Thank you, because I was gonna make sure we hit 30 minutes today, so that's helpful. Let's dive in, George. What is the skill of the day?
Yeah, well, welcome back to another episode of Skills That Pay the Bills. That's not an episode, but it is a section of this episode. Today, we're diving into something special for all of my web developer friends out there. Whether you're crafting a seamless front-end experience or engineering a complex back-end magic masterpiece, there's one undeniable truth. Coding can be a real grind. Boy, I have a story, by the way, after this to tell you guys. We've all been there, poring over lines of code, troubleshooting the elusive bug, or just staring at the screen waiting for a spark of inspiration to come, or looking for that tutorial, or if you're me, slacking Nico and being like, bro, why is this broken? But what if I told you there's a new MVP on your team, an assistant that's about to completely level up the way you code? Yep, we're talking about AI-powered coding assistants. Tools like GitHub Copilot, Replit, Ghostwriter, Codium, Amazon Code Whisperer, and of course, ChatGPT can do some stuff too. And others are here to lend a hand, helping you generate code snippets, autocomplete your ideas, and even debug issues all in real time. Now, imagine this. You're not just coding solo anymore. You've got an always-on assistant who's got your back. If you are a developer and somebody sends you this snippet of the skill that pays the bills and you're not leveraging these tools, what's the matter with you? Like, here's the deal. Like, you can just, the momentum is there, but bam, you hit that wall. That doesn't have to happen anymore. And so what I'm going to say here is instead, you've got this AI assistant embedded right in your IDE, reading your code in real time, suggesting solutions, and even drafting code snippets for you. That's the magic on things like GitHub Copilot. They're not passive spectators, they're active collaborators for you. And if you're trying to work through a tricky loop, I'm trying to use all the coding language, by the way, in here just to get them all excited. Stop it, because it can be easier. Think about the time that you could save. No more hunting through documentation or copying snippets from 5 different forums. I see you out there. I've been there, done that. AI takes on that heavy lifting while you can stay focused on what really matters, building features, optimizing performance, and crafting experiences that you as the developer are proud of. Again, I'll say it on every one of these. AI is not here to take over your development job. It's here to help you enhance your work. You're the creative force behind every line of code. The AI just makes sure the journey from idea to implementation is faster. I think we were just talking about that earlier today. Smoother and less error prone. It's like having a superpowered coding partner who never needs a coffee break, even though as a developer, you have 12 coffee cups on your desk. But that's all right. We still love you. AI supercharges your productivity. With AI-powered coding assistance, you'll write code faster, make fewer mistakes, and spend less time troubleshooting. Real-time help. That's what I want you to think about. That's what I want you to think about is real-time help. Okay, I'll go into my story. I have a couple coder friends, and I will usually reach out and be like, I can't get this CSS to like do this thing that I'm trying. And usually it's around HubSpot forums, by the way. I'm just going to throw that out there. It's really frustrating. My buddy ChatGPT knocked it out the freaking park the other day because I asked the question in Slack to my friend, but before my friend could come back with an answer, I had already got the code, fixed 3 of the problems that I was having. Now, did I end up circling back around to the human and get them to actually help me with the last little bit? Yes, but was I able to get 90% there without actually needing another human? The answer is yes. So for you, coding genius, the next time you're coding, don't rely solely on muscle memory or hours of Googling. Tap into the power of AI. Work faster, debug smarter, and code with confidence. Because at the end of the day, you're the genius. AI is there to supercharge you. That's today's AI skill that pays the bills. AI coding assistance.
I gotta ask, did he help you with the last bit only because he replied at some point and you kind of felt bad?
No.
So you had him help you with something when you could have just kept doing it, or
no, he helped me because I don't think I knew the right question to ask to get the last fix, because it also was a mobile fix. It wasn't just a desktop normal thing. And so I took a screenshot and I said, well, I still can't get this. And to which he went, beep bop boop. No, he didn't go beep bop boop. He then was like, oh, that's this here, and sent me a couple lines of code, and I slapped it into what I had already created. Poof, magic. I mean, not magic. It was like coding masterpiece, but it felt like magic.
Magic to bring it all together.
Yeah.
Yeah, as Nico was sharing the news, like what was coming to mind is so often at least for me, I can get very excited about an idea in that I can see it very clearly in my head. I could see it in HubSpot built out completely. But then there's something on the way there, like one little thing that like just gets in the way, and then the momentum is gone, motivation's gone, like just move on to the next thing. And when you're thinking about these little gaps that like, I don't know how to do this, or I haven't been able to do this before, I'll try it one time, doesn't work. Okay, I'm not going to be able to complete this project or this creative genius and everything in between. Like that's those blocks are disappearing now if you know how to use these tools effectively. So I think both of you hit on that value today. Like and it's interesting from like all the way from coding to like animation, right?
Yeah.
Like,
and what's
Yeah.
crazy too, like, because I wanna dive a little bit deeper, and then I'll be quiet. Like, because it came down to context too. Because I want everybody to know when I was doing the coding, it was like I'm trying to do this with a HubSpot form and make it look like this, based on it's a WordPress site using WP Bakery. How do I do the code and this to make this happen? You know, like. And it, oh well, with WP Bakery, and because it's WordPress, and HubSpot is, oh, and here's the code, and I'm like beep bop boom something, I'm like, oh my god.
Oh, yeah. Like I think the one thing that I don't know, just kind of lit my brain up when you were talking about it was just the point at which you were like, yeah, I just copied and pasted the code and boom, it was like magic. and it stuck out because it's like, yeah, that's how it's gonna feel. Like for a long time, like for a long time into the future. I linked something to the guys this morning that was a it seems like everybody's doing a fireside now. Like that's become the big term for the next few months, I guess. And so there was a similar discussion with Sam Altman at University of Michigan, and he said in that discussion that, you know, the things that we're experiencing now and the exponential curve that we're on now, every year from now until the foreseeable, you know, just forever, since like 2019 onward, if you think about what things were like in 2019 to 20, 20 to 21, so on, even last year to this year, think about where, you know, rendered like text to video was last year, where it is this year. And it's only, again, it's on an exponential curve upward. So from here on out, it is only going to get more mind-blowing every single year. Every single year, it will always feel like we've discovered this magical thing.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I was working on a project this morning, and I used to have to like explain to people, well, so if we're going to do an engagement email, we want to have like 3 places that they can connect with. And, you know, we want to go to the, and I had to like explain all this stuff. I was working on a project this morning, and I'm like, well, instead of explaining, how about if I just create this thing and throw it in their HubSpot portal and be like, hey guys, this is an example of what we might be able to do. Oh, by the way, this is probably really usable right now. And like in minutes, bro, I fed it like 5 pages, 4 ideas, and some direction. And then went in and added my own like creative genius as far as imagery to go along with what was happening. And I just sat back and was like, I'm either cheating or I'm just really good right now. Because I was like, have you ever given yourself a wow moment? Like it was a wow moment this morning where I was like, wow, like holy mackerel. And I'm not saying that because of me. I'm saying that because of the tools, because of the assistance, because of the education, because of the AI, because of like when it feels like magic, or you find that you're giving yourself wow moments when working with your clients or working on your stuff, I would say that's an indicator that you might be headed in the right direction.
and we got a viewer that shares that sentiment, saying that's how they described the early 2000s with the internet shaping up. Such a fantastic time to be alive. Agreed.
Yes.
And when you shared, and Nico shared the an agent AI interview with Dharmesh and Kieran on the Marketing Against the Grain podcast, which is so long ago, one month ago. And I remember the line, like it's the best time ever to have a good idea and to be able to action on good ideas, to be able to have success with your good ideas. And and that really resonated with what I'm experiencing right now, at least.
Yeah, I have to say the same thing. I think that's probably the most accurate statement, and that it goes right along with, people who were afraid that this type of technology was actually going to shrink things or make things, worse in some way. It's yes, there are some elements that are going to go away, but those are also elements that should go away, if that makes sense as well, right? So y- I'm not trying to pick on any particular sector. It's going to affect all of us. I'm only picking on this one because it's the most recent one I can think of where, I can feel replacement forthcoming. I don't know why, but the waste management services around my area have been having the most trouble in the last year. Sometimes they come by, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they pick up on time, sometimes they don't. Sometimes they just don't show up that week. So I understand, and especially during the summertime, they just seemingly don't want to show up. I get it. It's, actually they change their schedule because global warming and the heat. So they pick up much earlier in the morning before it gets too hot out, understandably. Long story short, this is not a job that any person wants to have to do. That's abundantly clear just based on their behavior. If they wanted to do it, the job would be utterly fulfilled. You wouldn't be able to even post a position and nobody would complain. Everything would be running on time, right? I wouldn't have made any of the statements I just made in the last minute. So that kind of stuff, yes, it's going to get taken care of, right? Because the want to do it is diminishing too. So where the want to do the work is going away, yeah, that stuff is going to get fulfilled so that we can keep moving forward, right? All together. So it's an enabling thing as far as I see it.
Yeah. It's funny, the whole time you were saying that, I was like, yeah, but I saw this news story where like this trash guy like actually like waves at people. It's like I think there's both sides of this. There are some people who have those jobs and love them. There are some people who have those jobs and hate them. And so I think there's going to be it's funny because you used the word replacements, but I think there's going to be what I'll call a remix where people are going to shift into different parts or places of it. Because here's where I thought you were going to go, Nico, is I thought we were going to talk about the day where I go outside and the trash truck is going along and it's the robot that's like, I'm here to pick up your trash. And he's like, and like, so it doesn't care if it's hot. It doesn't care if it's cold. It doesn't care if it's raining. The robot is just picking up the trash because that's what he's programmed to do. The truck's driving down the road. At 7:57 on a Tuesday, that Jimbot is gonna be in front of your thing picking up your trash because
that's exactly where I was going with it. I don't know. I didn't want to paint the entire picture, but yeah, that's exactly where I was going with it. Was that, yeah, I mean, look, I kind of talked about it the other day too. I think that like, when I mentioned the Cali burger thing, there's certain jobs that are just they're it's just the way I can describe them is nobody wants to do them. And if you do want to do them, you're in a very small select group. And that's, there's nothing wrong with that. There's artisans of every craft, aren't there? Doesn't matter what it is. You could say the horse and buggy business is gone. Not last I checked.
No.
There are still some in circulation.
Go to Hartville, Ohio. They're still clippy clopping along. I'm just saying.
Go to New York. Go to Chicago. There are plenty of places where horse and buggy is a specialty, where you have to be an artisan. You have to know how to drive a buggy, right? So, like, these things are going to definitely get brought down. But unless you want to end up as that specialty, horse and buggy driver, then you definitely need to wake up with AI.
Have a great day, everybody.
Well done, sir. That was
Thank you.